So Jeff, who was your favorite band growing up?
That would be Fleetwood Mac, but I can guarantee you my folks didn't much care for them, especially when I sang Tusk.
But he sings it really well.
And that's a scenario that generation after generation has repeated. But it's because people, what is it that is? Because people become older and less accepting, or have attitudes and values really changed over the years?
In the second part of a 4-part series, Matt Behrens looks at the way popular music has evolved over the years to examine whether it's really getting more shocking as years go by, and whether or not this is a generation of change.
You know those Sex Pistols? They spit on their audience.
Oh, come on, Dad. Every generation is afraid of the music that comes from the next.
And that's true, but why? Is it the fact that people become less accepting as they grow older, or has popular music become that much more risque?
You ain't nothing but
This is not for children's eyes.
In 1956, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, made an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, and when he swung his hips along with Hound Dog, the audience had a unique reaction.
Back in those days, that was just absolutely scandalous. Just completely and totally scandalous. We don't think twice about that now.
But Applegate says that was only one early moment in a history of shocking events in popular music. And if crowds in the 50s thought Elvis was controversial, they were in for a surprise during the next decade.
Both Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix, who were incredibly flamboyant, incredibly outspoken with their music and with their performing styles. And because of that, I think were found to be by many very shocking.
Sure, the lyrics too. You know, you look at the Beatles and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and the drug references that people refer to.
But as became a recurring scene from generation to generation, some people in the 60s found it more shocking than others.
That whole philosophy, that I think to many was shocking. But again, it's a generational thing. The people that the music was targeted for, they didn't find it so shocking. Their parents, oh my goodness.
But just as rock music was becoming accepted by the masses, another genre came along to scare them all again.
You know, punk music, some of the artists, the Ramones and the Clash, people like that, their stated purpose was to shock people because they felt that the music has gotten too tame. And I think it refers back to that social change aspect of the music that rock and roll had at the beginning. And I think they sort of wanted to return to the roots of that.
And as the anger, piercings, and mohawks of punk scared crowds in the 70s and 80s, other performers found different ways to shock.
You get into Madonna in the 1980s, and there's a very overt sexuality with that.
When she first started coming out with her wardrobe, or what her concept of wardrobe was, so many people went, oh my goodness. Once we get over that shock, the shock factor wears off, and then, okay, you know, are you going to shock me with something else, or are we just going to become kind of acquainted with everything?
But Applegate says even people like herself, who've witnessed a lot of controversial acts, still find themselves shocked at where popular music ends up. And for her, it's rap music.
So much within the lyrics of that I find, you know, not only shocking, but just, you know, for me, again, personalizing this, just reprehensible, some of the things that they say. I do find it shocking that so many people listen to it, that so many people enjoy it, that so many people buy it.
But as generation after generation have shown, music always seems to be on the cutting edge of change, and that may be more than just coincidence.
Artists oftentimes are the first people to see change coming, and oftentimes that's reflected in the music. People want change. They don't want to always listen to the same sorts of things. So in a way, artists are always trying to find something that's going to be the next popular thing as well.
And no matter what younger generations think, eventually they too will be shocked at what popular music has become.
There's going to come a time, especially when people of your generation become parents, that you're going to be listening to the music that your children are listening to, especially as they become adolescents and older, and you're going to go, oh my goodness.
I don't know what the next shocking thing will be, but I'm sure there's something just around the corner.
Matt Behrens, News Channel 7.
It's so amusing to watch that progression
Yes.
and see what.
And I know
will
I
be the
find
next big
myself
thing.
saying, "Oh my goodness," when I hear a lot of today's music. So she's right.
Well, be sure to tune in next Friday as part 3 of the series takes a look at the way people's childhoods have changed from generation to generation.